Having a nice night so far. I would like to call this meeting to order at 6:08. Mr. City Attorney, do we have anything to report out of closed session?
No, Mayor, no reportable action tonight.
Thank you, City Attorney Melching. Madam Clerk, have you received any correspondence on tonight's agenda?
No, we have not.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dynas?
Here.
Councilmember Diedrich?
Here.
Councilmember Temple?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carwin?
Here.
And Mayor Estrada.
I am here. We're going to now move on to our words of inspiration. Would Pastor Aisa Sharp with Leadership Ministries come to the podium to provide our words? Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. I was thinking about our city council today, and one of the things I thought about was my name. My name has 6 letters in it, and the primary one is an I, but it takes the other 5 letters to actually make my name. So that means teamwork. So as I pray today, that's what I'm praying for. So if we could bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this blessed day. We thank you for our city council, and we thank you for the city of Menifee. God, we ask that you be aligned in this meeting today, Lord God, that every heart is pure and every motive is clear. And Father God, we just ask right now that you continue to work through our city council, that they continue to be unified and remember what their purpose is. And their purpose is to represent the city of Menifee and the people in it. And so, God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for their health. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Sharp. We appreciate your words of inspiration tonight. Next is our Pledge of Allegiance. We have Don Smith from the Menifee Community Cupboard here. Don, will you please lead us in the pledge? Thank you, Don. We appreciate you leading us in the pledge. We're going to move on to presentations, and tonight the City Council is honored to recognize April as the DMV Donate Life Month. To recognize April with the DMV Donate Life Month Award and proclamation, and we're going to present that to Erica with One Legacy Ambassadors in appreciation of her dedication to raising awareness about organ donations. At this time, I'd like to invite Erica forward to accept this proclamation and share more about the impact of organ donation in our community. Council, let's head on up. Erica, we appreciate you being here for the DMV Donate Life Month proclamation. Our city is a strong supporter of all of the efforts you have put forward and all of the efforts you put for our community and the region. Would you like to share a few words for us? It looks like we have a new mic coming out.
You need to be loud enough for people at home to hear you on YouTube.
Use your teacher voice.
All right. It's okay. I got it.
Oh, that's right, because of figure,
There's people at home watching with
Yeah.
bated breath to hear everything.
Oh, thank you. Good evening. My name is Erica. I've lived in this area actually since 1989 with my family. I also been a teacher in the Lake Elsinore Unified School District, primarily at Terracotta Middle School, for 20 years before I retired. I'm also a heart transplant recipient, and I'm one of your local One Legacy ambassadors. And on behalf of One Legacy, which is one of the 4 OPOs in 7 counties in Southern California, we're the liaison between the transplant centers and the hospitals. Alongside with our partnership with the DMV, we would like to extend our gratitude and appreciation for the City of Menifee for annually issuing the DMV Donate Life Month proclamation, kickstarting April as Donate Life Month. It's really important. So many people have been impacted in this community. Donate Life month is important because it raises that awareness for the needs, the benefits of organ, eye, and tissue transplantation. Like I said, many residents have been impacted, and because of your support, that awareness has increased in this area, that we're seeing record numbers. Whether it's donor families, more donor families live in here, more recipients are able to live here. Residents are actually finding out they need life-saving organ in order to survive. I did a Women's Health Expo last week, and there's quite a few people coming forward advising. Also, there's people needing a healing surgery. Maybe they have a torn ACL. Well, you have to have that replaced with, a donor. Cardiac patients needing a TAVR heart valve replacement. One of our hospitals needs a heart valve. So organ donation impacts quite a few. And to put a face to organ donation, I wouldn't be here without a heart transplant. My journey was not, you just don't know when you might need something. Because I was teaching Easter 2016, no history of heart failure, no congenital defects, doing what I do. But while I'm doing all this stuff, I'm sick with every illness you could possibly think of at once with taking all the medication. But I wasn't responding. Come to find out I was having a heart attack. So people live with heart attacks, had stents put in, returned to school, good. Doing 0 period with AVID, not feeling good, went to the ER, come to find out I had an arrhythmia and I went right into cardiac arrest. Unfortunately, I would continue to go into cardiac arrest 4 more times. Nothing like being hit with the defib and feel like a horseshoe, horse kicked you in the chest. I was sent to another hospital where I underwent various surgeries, open heart surgeries, you name it, I had it. Getting weaker though, not responding. Arrhythmia is now hitting 400. So imagine exercising and your heart rate getting up to 400. Well, that's what was happening to me. So they were gonna do an ablation, took me in, body said, nope, I stroked. I stroke under invasive procedures, come to find out. I went blind, couldn't speak, couldn't move. Priest was brought in for my last rites, sent to Cedars-Sinai to get a transplant, not strong enough. So instead of being on life support in the hospital, they put a motor on my heart, has a drive line that goes down and out the side and you plug it into the wall. And that's what was keeping me alive as a bridge to transplant. And I don't know, there's a picture on one of the slides of me 2 months after being discharged from the hospital as I was waiting. Easter 2017, I got the call. They found a match. My donor, Dylan Stump, 19 years old, Cal Baptist University student, going home for Easter, little fender bender on the 91, waiting for a tow truck, traffic backs up, people get impatient, truck went down the emergency lane, hit his car at 65 miles an hour. Yeah. So he saved 5 lives, mine included. 213 tissue samples were donated by him. That's how many lives he impacted, which I'm truly, truly grateful for because I didn't understand the whole organ process. I mean, I was sick. I just knew I needed one. And I was kind of upset when I found it was a 19-year-old, right? I'm like, why didn't they give it to a kid? Because I know there's a lot of people on the transplant list. Well, come to find out, you have to have a certain amount of antibodies, blood type, size, shape, you name it. There's so many factors going in that I can't have just anybody's heart, right? So he was my match. So I'm eternally grateful for that. And the reason why I found out is because I met my donor mom, Easter of 2018. Do we have the slide so I can show the picture? Okay. So in the lower left-hand corner, you're going to see a little bit of picture. You don't even recognize me a picture, and that's what I look like waiting on life support. Because Dylan was my match, I was confined to a wheelchair. I was able to recover more quickly. And each year I do goals, and last year at the Donate Life Run Walk, I did my first 5K, walking though, but I did it. And next to me, behind me, is the crazy lady with the blonde hair with her finger up in the air with a foam thing, number 1. That's my donor mom. She met me at the finish line. We do a lot of events together. She's also One Legacy Ambassador in Long Beach. So it's just truly amazing to have that relationship. But to put things more in perspective, especially as a teacher, there's data. So in the top slide, I want to bring it forward because I want to make it specific to the 7 counties in Southern California. Primarily, Southwest Riverside County is doing a lot. So last year, 2024, 740 donors did 1,941 transplants. So imagine that, only 740 people, almost 2,000 transplants. That's truly amazing. It's a 77% increase. Nationwide, we actually did 48,149 transplant. That's up 2,000 from the 46. Again, record. But let's look at the state of California as a whole. I think it's 5,000 261 transplants. Now, the year before that, though, was 5,290. So as a whole, we're dropping. So to me, as data, as a teacher, I always look, what is it telling me? Well, that means we still have a little work to do. We appreciate the increase. So let's look at the current wait list. Nationally, as of today, 104,000 people are on that wait list, and before that was 103. But didn't we just do almost 50,000 of transplants last year? Shouldn't the wait list be 50,000? That's how many people are getting added to this list every day, and even more. I even know residents who should be on the list. It's pretty scary that they may not get that organ because we 5,000 people. And if you look at California, the wait list is, well, 23,000. So it's pretty incredible. And the number one organ nationwide is kidneys. 90,000 people need a kidney. State of California, it's like 1/4 of that. And livers. And what's sad is when I did the health fair and finding out there are a lot of local residents who are being told they need to move out of state if they want to survive. And I know one person, he has 6 months left to live. And so he has to move and to try because the chances are he won't make it here. So if you are a registered donor, thank you. Because you might be someone's match, you might be someone's silver lining. Can you hold this for just a minute? Yeah. But if you're not a registered donor, please, my personal wish, and I know Dana would say the same thing, is please consider doing that because you don't know, based on all the numbers that you've seen, you might be that one to help someone. And one of the reasons why I'm here too is I had students all the way from 1999 come and visit me. They're the ones that pulled me out of the wheelchair, get me moving, getting motivated. It's probably payback for all the years that I came down on them, but it's okay because I'm walking and I'm here. And some of them brought me this, a pig with wings, when pigs fly. And they see organ donation as the impossible making possible, and everyone in this room has the ability to help make pigs fly. So I really appreciate the City of Menifee for doing this because it's important that we advocate for everyone in the community. So thank you.
Thank you, Erica. Your story is inspirational. I know you inspired many to consider donating and signing up. We appreciate you sharing your story with us, and we're rooting for you, and we're going to continue to root for you and all the great work you're doing to spread awareness and educate everyone in our community and region-wide. We're very proud of you being here tonight, and thank you very much. Thank you. We would like to take a picture. Next, we would like to honor our Woman of the Year, and this honor was given by Senator Sayarto. I know we have a representative here from Senator Sayarto's office. Angelica, would you like to come up and briefly introduce the item? Hello.
Oh, yes, there. Hi, I'm Angelica from State Senator Sayarto's office, and the Woman of the Year Award is an award that we give out to a woman in our district who has done stellar things for our community and really have touched the hearts of folks in her inner circle, outer circle, bigger circle, the community as a whole, and our district as a whole. When I found out that Menifee was next on the docket to have somebody nominated for this year and awarded for this year, I couldn't think of anybody else more deserving of Woman of the Year. Not just because I was here twice on, for her, but because she truly has a whole community of people come out to celebrate her. And you know, just getting a state proclamation on how important this woman is to our community was something I really wanted to make sure happened for Gloria. So congratulations, Gloria.
We'll share a few words, and then we'll pass the microphone on to you to share your thoughts. Gloria, I'd like to congratulate you on this big accomplishment and this recognition. Not only were you Citizen of the Year for your own city here in Menifee, but for the whole Senate-wide district in our state. And that's a commendable recognition. And we're very proud that you are a member of our community here in Menifee. You make sure residents are taken care of when it comes to their transportation needs. The seniors have transportation to and from, their health care needs, their financial well-being. And so we're very proud that you're a member of our community, and thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you. I'll pass the microphone to Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, Gloria, there are a few people in this city that I say, if something good happens in the city of Menifee, you can see their name right next to it, and you're one of them. Just everything that happens here that people think is great about Menifee has your thumbprint on it somewhere. And we thank you for your years of dedication to the city. And I know that you don't do it for the certificates because you probably have a storage unit full of them somewhere. But we thank you for continuing to keep going and coming back and being just such a benefit to all of our residents, all of our people, and all of our city council and our city government. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass it down to Dan Temple.
Thank you. You know, we're so proud of you. You know, when we think of angels, you know, you're the face that we see. You do so much good for so many people, and that's how you've lived your life, and we appreciate that. So we're grateful to call you a friend, a resident, and for all the help that you've done for so many people.
I don't want to brag, but you know, I kind of started all this with Outstanding Citizen of the Month, but no. But fortunately, that was a no-brainer because of everything that Gloria does for our community. You know, talking about giving and giving and giving and being everywhere. It's just like, there must be more than one of you because you're everywhere all the time. But you know, well-deserved, and congratulations, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Gloria, what can I say? What hasn't already been said, right? You are a gem of Menifee. You truly shine, and thank you for attracting the attention to our city, right? We gave you Citizen of the Month, Citizen of the Year, and now district-wide, right? I can't think of anybody more deserving. When I moved back to the community, you were one of the first people that I met. I've known you for years now at this point, and I think why I met you so early is because you are everywhere, right? You are doing everything. So keep up the great work. We're so proud of you, and thank you for everything that you do.
Well, good evening, and thank you again. This is a wonderful way to celebrate the ending of this. When I was recognized up in Sacramento, there was one thing on my mind, is that I'm representing this great city. And one of the things that I think about is my grandmother, who was my inspiration. She was the one that gave everything to everyone. And because of her, I stand here accepting this. She showed me what it was to serve others with a smile. Not just give, but with a smile. And that's what happens when I meet with seniors in need, in crisis, when I know that there's something that needs to be done. Yeah, people say, you know, not call Jacob, call Gloria. That is what people do, and this is why I'm always there to help. It's my mission in life to help others. It's my mission in life to make sure that we're all taken care of, no matter the age, no matter where you live, no matter the circumstances. I'm very proud to be serving here and also to be recognizing our city for the wonderful things that they do. They know the importance of not only the seniors, but all people. We're a great community. Thank you very much for this. I appreciate it. And I am so honored to be recognized as the 32nd District Woman of the Year. Thank you.
Let's get a picture with the friends. Come on up.
Everyone who's able to get up. There's a lot of friends here.
Everybody's here to support Gloria. Come on up and get in the picture. Oh, wow. It's a pleasure, sir. Thank you. Next, we are on item 6 of the agenda approval or modifications. Madam Clerk, are there any modifications to tonight's agenda?
There are none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I ask the City Council for all in favor to approve the agenda? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. Next, we are on agenda item 7, public comments for non-agenda items. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments on non-agendized items?
We do.
Okay, then I will go ahead and read this comment statement. This is the time for members of the public to address the council about items which are not listed on the agenda. The Ralph M. Brown Act limits the council's ability to respond to comments on non-agendized matters at the time such comments are made. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes on any single item. Madam Clerk, can you please call the first speaker?
Don Smith.
Hey, Don.
Hi, I'm Don Smith, the director of the Menifee Valley Community Cupboard. I think I know most everybody in the room. So, good evening. I am here today for the Menifee Valley Community Cupboard to ask everyone to mark their calendars for Saturday, May the 10th, for the Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive. It is some people call it the post office food drive. Residents are asked to donate non-perishable food by putting a small bag or box near wherever their mail receptacle might be. The letter carriers will collect it on that day and deliver it to the cupboard food pantry. This year, the event is especially important because we have received word from the local board of the Emergency Food and Shelter Program that with regard, quote, with regard to the recent Office of Management and Budget, unquote, that emergency funds and, oh, sorry, that's not in quote yet. Emergency funds, food and shelter funds are still on pause at this time, end quote. This will impact the cupboard. In addition, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, which provides USDA commodities to help local low-income families, has also been affected. Please mark May the 10th on your calendar to help us fill the void left by those two situations. Volunteers are needed and welcome, and please email us at endhunger@mvcupboard.org to volunteer or any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, are there any public speakers?
No other speakers.
No other speakers? Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, we're going to move on to agenda item number 8, council member updates and comments. This is the time for the City Council to provide any updates or comments on meetings and events they attended. I'll start over to my right. Councilman Diedrich, lead us off.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so since the last meeting on the 24th, I attended, I think with all of us, all 5 of us attended the police department's pinning and swearing in ceremony for 3 new people joining the force, so that was great to see and be a part of. Later that night, also attended the special meeting for the Innovation District. Then on the 26th, I attended the Southwest elected meeting. The 27th, I attended the Menifee Valley Chamber of Commerce board meeting, and then on the 28th, again, all of us were there for the Welcome Home Vietnam Veteran ceremony, which was outstanding as always, and so happy to be a part of that. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilman Diedrich. I'll move to Councilman Temple.
Thanks, Mayor. On the 24th, I attended the groundbreaking of the Brookfield project in District 4. On later that day, March 24th, I attended with others the badge pinning ceremony for the 3 young men at Menifee PD. On the 28th, I attended the ceremony at Paloma Valley, the Welcome Home Vietnam Vet ceremony. And then on April 1st, I attended the Menifee Interfaith meeting here in Sun City.
Thank you, Councilman Temple. Councilman Dynas.
Thank you, Mayor. On the 24th, I attended the Menifee Innovation Workshop, as has been mentioned, the PD swearing in and pinning ceremony, and also the same day the Brookfield groundbreaking for the Menifee Business Center there. On the 26th, along with the mayor, I attended the Finance Committee meeting. The same day, Menifee, the city of Menifee here hosted the RTA Southwest T-Now meeting. And I'd like to offer a thank you to our community services department as well as Gloria. They presented a seniors transportation presentation to all the different cities, because there's been a lot of interest on that from our surrounding cities. And then on the 27th, I attended the RTA board meeting, and then, as been mentioned, on the 28th, the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Dynas. Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you. Let's see, let me go through this as fast as I can. I attended the Southwest Riverside County Association of Realtors Transportation Update down in their offices, which was excellent. I served as the PA announcer for the Paloma Valley High School boys volleyball team win over West Valley. I credit the announcer for that. I presented our certificates to the Student of the Month at the Student of the Month presentation, always wonderful. The RCTC Executive Committee meeting, and then right after that, I filled in for the mayor at the RCTC Selection Committee, where officers were selected. Since the last meeting, I've attended 2 Rotary meetings. The Rotary Club's Fire and Ice Gala, where our former mayor, Bill Zimmerman, was the host and MC, did a wonderful job. I stopped by the Children's Business Fair up at the Center for Spiritual Living, which was fantastic. It's a vendor fair, like a farmer's market kind of thing, but it's just all kids and their businesses and the things that they make. It was fantastic seeing them become entrepreneurs. Another RCTC Budget and Implementation Committee meeting. We were at the groundbreaking for Brookfield's Menifee Valley Business Park, the Menifee PD pinning and swearing in, Innovation District Workshop at City Hall, a placemaking workshop for business owners here at City Hall. I sat for a stakeholder interview with our placemaking consultants. Was with the mayor at the State of the City Planning meeting, the Welcome Home Vietnam Veterans celebration. I attended the 80th birthday celebration for a former Citizen of the Month, Gail McCracken, which was fantastic. And finally, the Arts Council Menifee Art Beat Blues and Barbecue music event. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'll hop in. I attended the Menifee PD swearing-in ceremony for 3 new members to our PD. We're growing and we're investing in our public safety, and we're bringing aboard new blood, and we're excited to see that. I attended the Innovation Plan and Design Workshop here at City Hall. I encourage all of the residents to get involved. We're getting towards that stage now where we're gonna start to choose the design and get into the final design phases of that. So I encourage you all to share your thoughts with your council members and let us know your vision, because it is your innovation district ultimately. I did attend the Unique Identity Workshop as well. And in that, I noticed that a lot of residents had a lot to say with a lot of different ideas. Residents talk about business needs, sports park needs in general, all of the growth, our rural identity. Menifee has 4 different communities with Romoland, Menifee Lakes, Quill Valley, and Sun City. What I would like to see from the residents is a clear answer. We have all of these ideas and needs, but what is the glue that holds it all together? What is the theme? What is the unique identity that sets us apart? So we have a lot of ideas bouncing back and forth, and I'd like to see it fine-tuned and zoned in into one clear message for everyone that comes to our city. I also attended the Finance Committee meeting with Councilmember Dynas. I attended the Welcome Home Vietnam ceremony over at Paloma Valley High School. And those are all my updates for now. Council, any other updates or comments? Okay, hearing none. Next, we're going to move on to item 9, approval of the minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes for the council's consideration. Does the city council have any modifications? Okay, can I ask the city council for all in favor of approving the March 5th special and regular minutes as aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. Next, we are on item 10 of the agenda. This is the consent calendar. All matters on the consent calendar are to be approved in one motion unless a council member requests a separate action on a specific item on the consent calendar. If an item is removed from the consent calendar, it will be discussed individually and acted upon separately. Madam Clerk, are there any requests to speak on consent calendar items?
There are none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any items the council wishes to pull for further discussion?
I'd like to pull 10-5.
10-5, thank you. Any others? Okay. Hearing none, can I get a motion and a second to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
And that passes 5-0. Councilman Temple, you pulled 10.5. What is your pleasure, sir?
Well, I wanted to get a briefing from the chief on issues of response to various cities, specifically Paris by CAL FIRE.
Absolutely, and thank you very much, Mayor, Council, and City staff. Today I have brought the County Fire Chief, Bill Weiser, along with the Deputy Chief of Operations, Lonnie Olson, and I would like them to answer these questions for you guys. So without any further ado, here they are.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Chief Weiser.
You guys remember, do you guys remember Lonnie Olson that worked here
Yeah,
for a
welcome
while?
back, Chief Olson.
Welcome back. So, Council, as said, my name is Bill Weiser. I'm the Fire Chief, Riverside County Fire Department in the CAL FIRE Riverside Unit. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for having me, along with the rest of the City Council, and of course, my good friend, CM Villa. It's good to see you also, Assistant CM, Mr. Jones. We have a good history of a long time knowing each other. So I'm here to answer questions, talk about some of those issues, and give whatever information that I can give here on the dais for you.
So, Chief, the reason I wanted to discuss this has been an ongoing concern that many of us have had about the response of Menifee resources into the city of Paris. In 2016, Menifee passed Measure DD, which was specific to the funding of first responders, safety allocation, CAL FIRE, Menifee PD. And as a result, we've enjoyed fast and very efficient responses from our fire department, as well as our police department, for which we're super appreciative. The problem is we see the use of those resources by other cities, and I'm specifically referring to Paris.
Understand?
Not out of necessity, I believe. I know often we hear of mutual aid. When I understand mutual aid, I understand it to be a necessary response to an unforeseen emergency that taxes the resources of the initiating agency, thereby requesting and needing outside agencies to respond until that emergency is mitigated. That's not what we have here. What we have here are resources of Menifee being sent to Paris because of their inability to properly plan as a city for their citizens. And so our resources, to an unknown tune, but estimated maybe $500,000 a year, in addition to the wear and tear on the equipment, the resources that may be damaged, the people that may be injured in these incidents, are going up to Paris, and it's costing us, whereas a city, we've planned for this, our citizens have voted and approved this, and they're not enjoying those resources. They're being spent in another city that seems to really be thumbing their fingers at us, gratefully accepting those resources, but not preparing themselves for that. And we have a fire department, or excuse me, a station that is in the planning phases in our northern boundary coming up. And I feel that this could be yet another resource that Paris will use, because why bother building their city up when Menifee is certainly able and willing to supplement them? So that's my concern, is Menifee resources, funds, and goods going to a city that has not prepared, and what are we going to do about that? How are we going to either be compensated for that, or have a change in boundaries or dispatch areas so that Paris can take care of Paris, and the goods and services and taxes and hard money that the citizens here have allocated are spent here.
Councilmember Temple, thank you. I want to assure you at the highest levels from your city manager, Armando Villa. He has been in constant contact with me, along with Assistant City Manager Brian Jones. We've had meetings on this. We've had meals on this to ensure that at my level, that I was fully aware of this. I can tell you that I am also work with the City of Paris, their City Manager Miramontes, Clara, and we've had meetings as well. I know the city is in the process. They've done land acquisition for our fire station on their very southern border, along the corridor of Ethernet, and are going to an architect now to plan for that station and build. My conversations with the CM there in Paris, she is fully aware. And I believe that as a city manager, she is working to strive to build a fire station that would serve not only the community of Paris, but also help out in some way into Menifee in the future as well, and its location of where that fire station is. It's part of Riverside County Fire Department on medical aids that have real need. We send always closest resource. I think that we had a heart recipient here today that, and all of you know, that the importance and the ability for us to be able to send resources as quickly as it can. And one of the questions that I have for myself is often, how do we get here? Right? How are we have disparity between one city and another? And it's throughout this county. It's not just here, and it's not just within our Riverside County partners that are part of our fire department. It's throughout the county, as this county has gone through an exceptional growth over the last 12 years. The fastest growing county in population in California, and in 2023, the second fastest growing county in the nation. And when that happens, when the city made its borders and did those things, took what was the infrastructure at that time, and we then used it to start continuing the response capabilities that we'd had at that time. Myself and my staff are absolutely working with the City of Paris to try to work through these issues, provide answers to the CM, what he needs from us, and to work through this problem. Some of my conversations that I have behind closed doors, is when many of you have the same ones, the most remain confidential, and I do speak to your city manager about those things that I can as we move forward. Did that help at all, or do you have?
No, that helps. Like I said, I think the concern, I don't know if people are aware that we have the fire station on Newport and Menifee Road, which is, really kind of in the heart of the city, going all the way up there on a very frequent basis, and it just seems like the multiple stations that we have here in Menifee that we've paid for, and that's the concern, is the fact that we're supplementing another city, and that just doesn't seem right to me with the money that we're entrusted to be wise stewards over.
Yeah, I understand that concern, and I think there's real relativity to that concern, especially when I know and I remember when the citizens here voted for public safety and made public safety really a #1 priority here, and they did it with their checkbooks, right? They did it with money that came out of their pockets, and I fully understand that. What I think is all of us have experienced, the city as well, building a fire station and being able to do that, it never happens as fast as any of us want. Lord knows I'm building some as the county fire chief now, and it never goes as fast as I want it to go. Our disparities throughout this county aren't just here in the city of Menifee. When I look at different areas within the county, Northwest, the desert, often we share those resources. Even here within the city, the county provides quite a bit of help in areas that we know that the city is going to build in. It's just part of that influx. It's part of this that happens over time. People build stations in the right spot, and they're able to cover not only their community, but help out others in theirs as well. It's happened many times over time. County Fire was looking at putting another fire station. We just are in land acquisition for actually a station we call Poroy, which is near the area of Washington and Keller, in which that's going to help out the city of Menifee a little bit too, as we're going to pick up a little bit of that as well. Our station, French Valley, helps out the city of Marietta heavily over there. It's part of that ebb and flow until Marietta can build their fire station. I hope that answers some of that. Is our communities have grown so fast, and we've looked at the ability to get DIF, development impact fees, to come up to where they need to be so we can spend the money to build the infrastructure.
Chief Weiser, Chief Olson, and Chief Scoville, we really appreciate, and we know the sacrifices you make for cities and the surrounding cities, and we appreciate you coming today to address our city council. This city council wants to be good stewards of our residents' tax dollars, just as any resident from any city would like their city council to be, and I understand you are in the middle of this between two different cities, and I have empathy for you and what you have to deal with from both cities. But as the mayor of Menifee, I have a responsibility to look out for my constituents and make sure I'm being a good steward and representative for them. My two questions are, should this council give direction to our staff and city manager to have conversations with you to move the boundaries? What would how would that work out procedurally? What are the steps if we were to direct our staff to go down that route? And two, what unilateral authority do you have to help accommodate those requests?
So, we're talking about lives to save. As the fire chief, it's hard for me to say we're just going to move boundaries those ways. Emergencies for people that are having true life-threatening emergencies need that closest resource. And sometimes there's a citizen right here from Menifee that is at an establishment near the border. We need that resource to respond, to provide that care, as well as visitors. It's something that I would not recommend. I think there are other pathways forward, Mr. Mayor, as we continue working with the city of Paris that would allow us to have some more of those equities, things that you're looking for.
Okay, that could be, and I'm giving you the courtesy,
Yes, sir.
I'm giving you a heads up. That is an idea, I have explored and may continue to explore, and Paris is shutting down our economic development. They are telling us what to do on our side of the border. It is not appreciated, and in return, they expect us to provide resources and safety for them. And so I am not a big fan of that, right? And so thank you for being here, and those are all my questions for this moment.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I want to clear something up. Your concerns, you have given that gentleman right over there, and he ensures that I understand those concerns in the most clear of directions.
Excellent. Next in the queue, I have Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, thank you very much for being here. I want to preface my comments by saying I in no way think that Paris has an intentional plan of drawing our resources into their city. I think they would much prefer that we didn't have this issue altogether. So I don't hold that against Paris. I think they are subject to some of their resources and their growth, that kind of thing. Do you have any idea? I think I asked Chief Scoville this last time we did one of these reports, where these calls are going in Paris from Menifee. We've got 31 calls from Menifee given to Paris. Is there a concentration of where in Paris we are servicing most?
Yeah, I'm going to let Chief Olson, my brother, answer that a little bit. We looked at the maps and things, and I think that he's going to give you, Mr. Carwin, a little better detail on that.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lonnie Olson, Deputy Chief.
The 31 calls at one person's house?
31, yes. You ruined my whole, no. So there was 2 areas of concern. There is the Monument Ranch area that's near like Ethanak and Getz. The pulling of fire station further to the south in that strategic location is going to have less of a commitment on the Quail Valley Fire Station running into the Paris area and equal it out a little bit more with the Paris Fire Station. The majority of the 31 calls that you're seeing today now on the reports is going to be from that Ethanak corridor that runs along the 215 where the Home Depot shopping center and that is. That is the area.
So the majority of those calls are going to that shopping plaza where the Home Depot is?
Correct.
Okay. And where does the northern boundary of our service district end?
So in this is, without getting too complicated in the report, that report is a very single dimensional report. So although that report shows there were 31 calls in it, that is what we would call the primary response area for Station 7. They are the closest fire station. So when we print the report, it shows that. It doesn't mean that an engine from Reno Valley wasn't driving down the 215 and ran the call, because we send closest resource to ensure life safety. But it's in Station 7 service area. So the boundary area for Station 7 almost cuts that commercial district out perfectly. So if you were to run it up through that area, that would be basically what that service district would look like going across the top of the Home Depot through that parking lot. It cuts that out because the roads travel are improved and Station 7 is the quickest into that area.
Okay, now I understand the concept of nearest responsive unit, life-saving response times. I understand all of that. In the grand scheme of dispatch, if that boundary was moved south to the northern border of Menifee, which runs roughly down Ethanak, would this number change based on the way dispatch occurs?
If the boundary was moved, it would change. Well, yes.
So, because 31 responses into Paris, a majority of which, I don't have the exact number, you don't, of how are going to that plaza. If that boundary was moved to exclude that plaza and the Station 7 boundary is moved to the northern border of Menifee, does that change dispatch at all? And would that change the number of times Menifee units are going to that plaza?
It would change the number of that, but it would also change that closest resource concept. The report would change. We're still using AVL to send closest automatic vehicle location. It sends the closest resource. So the report's not going to show it on there anymore, but we send by closest resource for life safety. So if it's Station 7 resource that's closest, an engine on the freeway, whoever is closest, we're going to send them to that emergency.
Right. So I'm trying to make sure my question is clear. Moving the boundary doesn't move that fire station.
No.
So if it's the closest resource now with the boundary where it is, if we move that boundary, it's still the closest resource.
Correct.
So if we move the does the boundary change the response order of units in the area?
No.
So for these 31 calls that we're sending units into Paris, if that boundary of Station 7 was moved to the Menifee border and excluded that plaza, those 31 calls to that plaza would still have been made by Menifee units.
Correct, but it would just show in the City of Paris's fire station report.
I see. Based on your communications, and Chief Wise, maybe you can address this, based on your communications with the City of Paris and their officials, do you have any idea how far away they are in terms of time to having a unit that could service their own Home Depot Plaza?
Yeah, the communication.
Because you're talking about architects and things like that.
Yeah, so the communications I've had with the City of Paris, specifically the CM Miramontes, is between 1.5 years and 2 years out from where we are right now to have that station up and running. You guys built Station 5 not that long ago. It takes a hot minute to be able to get through architectural, get a contractor, put that all together. It takes a minute.
So you think it's not, I know that this isn't your deadline. I'm not asking you to give me
I know that.
But you think it's not unreasonable that they could have a fire station online in 2 to 3 years that would service that plaza?
I do.
Based on your communications with them?
I think that's reasonable. I do. I've been going through the processes myself, and that's fast-tracking their abilities to put that fire station together. My history, it usually takes me about 5 as the fire chief building of the county fire stations. It takes a little bit, but I know that the city of Paris, my communication with CM Miramonte is they understand the impact that the city of Paris is having currently and wants to make that right. And is fast-tracking that in every way they can.
Okay, so when it comes to the station service boundaries that exist, that we were just talking about, what is the purpose of having that boundary? Is it for personnel scheduling and supervision, or does that have anything at all to do with dispatch?
It has much more to do with dispatch and our planning of where fire stations need to be. As we look at population density and how far apart drive time should be for units to be able to get on scene, that's more what we talk about when we have those boundaries. It's also for reports and those things as well. We have moved years ago just going to the closest resource to get to emergencies. Yeah, I think that's, do you want to add anything? Well, you work in the command center. I'm not a command center person.
No, I think I got the answer.
Yeah.
So my last question to you is, based on your communications with our staff, theirs, and your own experiences, is there anything that the city of Menifee can do right now to make this more even with the city of Paris?
I think that the dialogue that I'm having, Chief Scoville's having, with the city of Paris, I think there's a pathway forward to help out.
What is that pathway?
I think that I need to keep that a little bit closer and to just me right now as we work with the city of Paris. Standing in front of the dais and
So you're
speaking
saying there's
for
a
them.
plan, but it's a secret plan and you can't tell us.
I'm saying is that meetings that I have with city managers often are, they want confidential, and I have to respect some of that.
Then I guess I don't have any more questions.
Councilman Dynas, thank you for being patient.
I've never been accused of having patience, but thank you. You get on the, for, let's see what this is, January's, we had, because it's not just Paris, we've got 36 times to Wildemar, 10 times to Lake Elsinore.
Sure.
And that's a fairly long trip to make, especially to Paris and to Wildemar. So, we gave assistance to those 3 cities 77 times and received, you throw in Temecula 8 times. So that's like, so that's more than one call a day outside of our city. So if they're all the way into, let's see, Wildemar or Lake Elsinore, that takes the closest responding unit away from our city. So any other, the next closest one would not be as close to the need in our city as it was if our unit was still here. So that would, based on that, I think that what we're doing is we're losing response time because our units are out of the city so often. It's rather lopsided, and so it's simple, but the math works in my mind, and I still therefore must be correct.
Let me help out with this just for a minute from at least help my perspective and my times in the county. So I was one of the fire captains that opened Station 76 in the early 2000s before the city incorporated. And the lines that the city drew just happened to encompass the county fire stations that were in place. Now this city has invested in building wonderful new fire stations for our personnel and the citizens here to make sure that we have a place that's a home and a place to respond from. And I'm eternally grateful. But you replace 2 fire stations. You replace Station 7, you replace Station 5. And we got to think back that originally all those stations were built years and years and years ago when it was all just the county. And so the county, being that we're the county fire department, the stations were spaced out where we needed them. because there wasn't the city of Menifee, the city of Paris was much smaller. Things have changed since then, and in a dynamic way that I spoke about in the beginning, as we have had exceptional growth in this county. And I feel that our cities, like the city of Menifee and the city of Paris, and all the other cities around here, are working hard and striving hard to build new stations. I can tell you as a fire chief, I've never seen so many new stations being put in place with Beaumont, Desert Hot Springs, North Palm Desert, and the county looking at building new stations as well. These aren't replacements, these are net new. And I know that this city has plans to do the same. Mayor, you talked about it. But they take a minute. And I want to hope that one of my things I'm here to talk about is that this between Paris and Menifee, Paris hears you. I've talked to City Manager Mayor Moniz. They hear you, and I think they really are trying to fast track this project to make the equalization that they need. And so when you talk about other communities, the Wildemars of the world, they're too struggling to build out, to be able to cover that area that's their east end side. There's old infrastructure there, and a part of a system that used to just all be county. Station 68 that served that was just part of the county fire department, and we served all those places. So it's just a change that we're all going through, and we're all figuring out and building our infrastructure to be able to get to there, where we need to be. Yep, Lonnie wanted to add something.
So as I spoke earlier, the report that you're looking at is one-dimensional. It looks at Station 68's role area, right? Which specifically for the Willamar concern would be the farm area. On the second page of the report that you have, it shows that we had 2 structure fires in the city of Menifee. Each one of those structure fires takes 6 units to respond. That's every unit in the city of Menifee that was committed to those, most likely for more than an hour and 45 minutes, which means they weren't running calls in the city of Menifee, which means we moved up county fire resources from other areas to cover and service Menifee. That is the resiliency and that give and take in that county fire contract. But that's not going to show on the one-dimensional report that you're looking at. It's a very complex system that we use to benefit the entire community under the county fire umbrella. And yes, I know the stat looks one-sided, but it does not definitely paint the entire picture. At those times of those structure fires, at a minimum, we probably moved 3 additional fire engines from adjoining communities to cover and commit to maintaining service protection within the city of Menifee. That's not covered on those basic stats. So I just want to give you the whole picture of there's other complications within that system. This is a very basic report that just shows what calls were run within their service area. And those jurisdictional lines don't contain within the city of Menifee. Thank you.
So, before you go, Lonnie, so when there's a structural fire, then it's like, sounds like all hands on deck type of thing. I mean, but I understand that we have one here. What you said, you mentioned 2 of them. Is that for the month of January? Then, what you're referring to?
Correct. So the month of January had 2 structures.
So what if we're sending our fire apparatuses 77 times somewhere else, and there's 77 different fires going on somewhere else that we have to back up, all hands on deck to Paris and Wildemar and Lake Elsinore? Because it seems, I understand what you're saying, it makes perfect sense, but if we're super fire prone and that you're having to rush to help back up, existing, fire apparatus for those cities, that's an awful lot of, multi-unit calls that are happening, or is it just are those 77 times going out because there's a lack of coverage in those cities for their fire departments?
So as you said, exceptional growth, right? We know we need to build. We continue to do that. The same as I did for Menifee and building a strategic plan we are doing in the city of Paris and trying to figure out the best place to put fire stations throughout, establishing standards and starting to work through making sure everybody has DIF fees and ways to pay for those fire stations and continue to build that plan and plan for the future. Right? Those 77 calls aren't all structure fires. As we know, there was over 1,300 calls in the month, I believe, of January within the city. Is that correct? Right around there?
Yes.
So,
okay.
Of that, you had 2 residential structure fires. Now, there could have been traffic collisions where you got closest resource that could have been a unit from Paris. And even if that call was in Station 7's area in the city of Menifee, it's going to show as a Menifee call, even though you may have gotten an additional resource from Paris to help out with that traffic collision. That's how basic that report is.
But I just have a hard time believing that 77 times a Menifee fire truck was the closest one to respond. But then that's more complex. That's why we pay you guys the big bucks to.
That's not counting fire engines, it's counting calls on a geographical map within that service area. That makes sense? Yeah.
Okay. So out of that 13, so out of those, that 1,318 calls, then that includes all the calls that our units responded to other cities? That's only in ours.
The 1,300 calls is specific to the city of Menifee stat, correct?
Okay. Now, you mentioned exceptional growth, and no one knows that better than the city of Menifee.
Yes.
And I think we've worked very hard and spent a lot of money, and we've asked our residents with the quality of life measure here to build up our fire department. And if I recall, I have to ask staff here, but I think in our fire agreement that it says that each city is responsible to staff a fire department to service their community, or something along that line. Am I correct?
I cannot recall the exact wording, but I think it's something to do with making sure that we cover our own, but there is a provision and it talks about mutual aid when it's a one-to-one, right, reciprocal.
Yep. So I mean, we've done our share of it, and I realize everyone's starting to build theirs, but 5 years from now, for 30 years I financed government buildings, and nothing's ever happened in 2.5 years. I don't care how small it is. And so I say there's a minimum of 5 years out that we're going to have to continue to support all these other cities with our resources. And say it's $250,000 a year to do that. And as there's a lot of streets we can pave. That's a community center we can pour our money into. And so this is our obligation to our residents to do that. I understand it's the global thing here, and it makes sense, but that's only if everyone's playing on the same field. If we're the only ones investing in our fire department, then it's not very a fair playing field, and we're covering everybody else for their lack of vision or their lack of planning or whatever it is. And to me, if that's the fire agreement is with all the cities and the county and CAL FIRE, then we're the only ones living up to the agreement on that. So, I'm hoping that the 2.5 years with Paris is correct. My concern is that, with Wildemar and Lake Elsinore, that they're working hard to do the same. I'm going to assume that they are. I'm sure they get the same emails and calls that we do from their constituents saying how come, But so to me that I feel that we're doing our part. And I'm not too sure about the other cities. The other question I have, out of that,
Councilmember, can I speak on that for
sure.
a minute? Councilmember, I've been the fire chief for 5 years. And in those times, I've had those good, strong conversations with our other city partners. But I think as a county fire department as a whole, as this county exploded in growth, maybe something like you were indicating, maybe our fire department, the patch that I wear, maybe we didn't have some of those strong conversations back in the day. And I can assure you that we're having them now. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, because I remember back in the day when, because I counting the executive office, I worked with a lot of your predecessors.
Yes, sir.
And it was a different time then with the majority of this area being unincorporated. But
yes, sir.
It's a whole new ball game now with cities and our requirement to make sure our residents are well served. You say about the life-saving issue. I totally agree with that. But if our units are somewhere else, we jeopardize the lives of our residents. Because that leads me to the question then, out of those 77 calls, how many of those of our paramedics go into those calls? Okay, that would be important to know, because we had a lot of residents sitting here and coming and talking and standing at that very podium saying, we need another, paramedic union because the response time is so slow. So we invested in that heavily to do that. But if they're not here to do the job that we're paying them to do, then we haven't satisfied our residents' needs. So it'd be interesting to see how many times out of that 77 times or whatever it is that month, how many of our paramedics are going out. Because, we've invested in a ladder unit, a second paramedic because of our need. And we just, as much as I understand and I want to be good neighbors, but, first, our residents come number one to this council, because that's the most important part, is to make sure that they're well taken care of. I mean, they're paying their taxes for it. They tax themselves voluntarily to have a great fire department, a great police department.
They did.
You guys, we're very happy with CAL FIRE. You've done a great job. It's just that I think there needs to be a reevaluation of how this all works when it comes to what the money we put into it, and as to what we get out of it in the way of responses and how we're subsidizing other cities. So that's all of my questions. Thank you.
Councilman Diedrich.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be quick. I don't want to belabor this. I think we're all on the same page here. We're all kind of having the same thoughts and ideas, but I just had a question for you. In the fire world, is there not the concept of reimbursement? I mean, my understanding in law enforcement there is, right? If we call sheriff and we need their helicopter to come in, we're going to get a bill for that. That's my understanding. Is that not? Because I'm all for closest resource, life-saving. I appreciate that. But the money involved, is there not that same concept of reimbursement for the use of those resources? It's just a question.
No, it's a great question. And we have shared costs in other fire stations throughout the county. 76, for instance. The truck. Thanks. The county pays for 3 captains there. I think you're aware of that. And we'll continue doing those things just because it's the right thing, right? Maybe that truck isn't really rolling into the county areas as much, and we know that Station 83 or somewhere Station 54 are rolling heavy into the city as well, and we understand that, and we take that for what it is growing communities. And how I know as a fire chief in the future, these things equal themselves, and they wound up being beneficial to all communities as fire stations are grown and built. I also fully understand fire stations and fire personnel are expensive things to have. They're there for the communities, but it's not cheap. And I fully recognize that this community and this city stepped up to pay for the kind of service that the people in this community fully want.
Assistant City Manager Jones, I saw you in the queue.
Yes. If maybe we can queue up a couple questions to throw some softballs to kind of define some things. If you could kind of share a little bit about what the difference between a cooperative agreement, which we are in with the County of Riverside and CAL FIRE, versus mutual aid, for which Marietta provides to us or to you, so that, because sometimes those words get used loosely and maybe incorrectly, so that how the cooperative agreement and the closest response vehicle from a county-wide perspective versus a local fire department, because sometimes I think our council sees, well, our fire crews only go into Marietta once, and we get one back from them, and they're like, okay, well, why is that border so secured, and we're not going back and forth there as much as we're going into Paris or into Wildemar, and it's sure. Because we're part of a cooperative agreement, right? And so maybe if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So our cooperative agreement that we're a part of is between the county and the state and 19 cities, and also a district, the Rubidoux Water District. And that allows us to have cooperative regional integrated fire services. It allows us to have one command center to dispatch all resources. And so those calls, those 911 calls, right now at about 600 a day, go to that command center, and the closest resources sent to those emergencies. So the citizens in this county, in different cities, are all part of that ability to get that quick response. It also allows us to have fast access to aircraft, to different kinds of specialized equipment through one command center, that they don't see a border, they don't see, is that SRA, which is state responsibility area, or local. We just run it hard, and we smash every fire, is my leader's intent. That means structures, that means traffic collisions, that means everything. It's the ability to take a tremendous amount of resources. We cover 142 frontline pieces of equipment a day. It allows us to be able to take those resources and put them directly and quickly into an emergency. Now, mutual aid. There's talk of automatic aid and mutual aid. Automatic aid is an MOU that is signed between two separate cooperators. We have, Riverside County Fire has automatic aid agreements with every local government city here in Riverside County that's not a part of our fire department. For instance, Marietta, or Canyon Lake, or Riverside City. So we have automatic aid agreements with them. Automatic aid is about a specific set of resources that will automatically send to the next jurisdiction. You mentioned Marietta for a minute there, CM Jones, Assistant CM Jones, my brother. While I understand that here in the city of Marietta, Riverside County, we go in at about, what was that number here? 45 times last month into our Station 83 into the city of Marietta. It's just part of it. We understand that they need that help for right now, and that's a part of what that's about. There's an engine and a patrol. The county invested in a patrol unit to go into French Valley to help bolster our resources along that corridor. And that's why I was talking about building another station. So I got a little chasing a rabbit there for a minute, and then there's mutual aid. And mutual aid, it's not automatic. It's a phone call, one command center to the other. And it's, do you have resources available? Stand by, I'll check. Take a look. If we have them available, we send under mutual aid conditions to all of our partners. Does that answer that question for you, Assistant CM?
Yeah, that helps. And then you briefly touched on it. At Station 76, the County of Riverside helps fund our Truck 76
Yeah, it
with
absolutely
three captains.
Sure does.
Because that truck helps support the region and service an area in the county as well as the city of Menifee, correct?
Absolutely, as well as the city just being a great partner. All right, just like when Engine 54 runs, the county Engine 54 runs into the city often to help out. It's shown on our chart and agreed that it's one-dimensional, or the numbers that we give, but that's a part of what that county is about too. You know, in 2009, the county made some hard budget cuts, and one of them was cutting one of our hazmat units and making the Winchester Fire Station just be a hazmat unit that cross-staffed an engine and all this and that. You know what, and I always remember the city of Menifee as partners helping us out when the hazmat unit had to go. Occasionally the city of Menifee went over there and covered. Then we owe that three captains for quite a while, and because of that relationship.
And then we talk about it, we almost treat all calls as equal calls. Is there a triage of priority one calls where somebody's unconscious or having a cardiac arrest versus a response to a collision where somebody might be complaining of a neck injury or there's a collision and people are calling 911 and you don't know if there's an injury there, but they're responding to support that response or whatever. Are calls triaged and could they be triaged that, hey, if it's not a life-threatening call, a cardiac arrest at Home Depot because somebody bought too much lumber at a very high cost, that they're, I think, if, let's say somebody trips and falls at Home Depot and could there be a little slower response from a station in Paris to that kind of a call? And do you guys have that ability to make those calls where we're not having our engines leave for something that isn't a life-threatening emergency.
So I'm gonna start off with some quick and easy answers, and I'm gonna turn it over to Lonnie, who worked in the command center and is a lot smarter in command center stuff. Our command center got accredited this last year in November, one of 13 in California, the first CAL FIRE command center in the entire state. And that command center allows us to do just those things that you're talking about. We use emergency medical dispatch, and being accredited allows us to be able to send a certain kind of response, change it from the national standard, which is what emergency medical dispatch is based on, to allow us to do some of our own things, as well as changing our responses. And we've done just that. We have changed some of our responses to send BLS, which is basic life support, to certain calls, and reserve our advanced life support units to calls that we know we need them on. Lonnie, do you want to field some more of that, command center guy? All right.
So to the call triage, and not only that, using that example as a Home Depot, if it was a low-level call and we were sending Fire Engine 7 to that call, and a heart attack came in Station 7's area, the engine would be diverted to go to the priority life-saving call. So yes, the system is very complex and allows us to do that flexibility.
That's because these are calls we get sometimes from the residents, or council has been asking us, and so I just wanted to make sure we were taking the time to kind of put it on the record, since you guys all made the trip down here from headquarters. And what I want to commend our council for making public safety a priority, and making sure our development impact fees are always updated to the, and we want to make sure that you guys are also advising and encouraging other agencies around us to also update their development impact fees so that they can build the stations with development, not after development. When we're having development come in, we have a developer helping build a fire station for our 5th new fire station, right? Our first brand new station area, right? The last 2 have been replacements for older stations. And so, we spend or allocate about $20 to $21 million on our fire service and our fire marshal, and get excellent service from you guys. And we want to thank you and your staff for that. And in comparison, Paris is spending about $9 million and don't contract with the fire marshal service at the county. And we just want to make sure that they're getting the same good county advice and service that we're getting from the fire marshal team for buildings and building checks. And if you're going to provide the operation service, also providing the prevention service kind of capability, and doing that from a cooperative agreement would be really beneficial, and really encouraging them to increase their development impact fees so that they can do the development with or the investment in fire service with development, not 16 years after Home Depot is, because Home Depot generates millions of dollars of sales tax revenue, but if you're collecting the sales tax revenue and not providing the services, that's where the council gets a challenge. And so, over 16 years, that's a lot of sales tax revenue to help build a fire station. But there are a lot of property taxes and development impact fees that were collected in that same time, and so.
I agree. I know for myself, working with Riverside County, in December, Riverside County changed its development impact fees specifically for a lot of things, but fire had the largest increase. Exact reasons why you're talking about, right? It's those processes. Talking to Chief Scoville, I know that the city of Paris is working within their system as well. Do you want to add some more to that, Lonnie?
I would say exactly what you're asking for, Chief Scoville has done. Since his time in the city of Paris, he's added 2 paramedic squads to the city and started those plans for them to build that station in the south. So that we're in that level of engagement.
They also replaced their truck.
Is there an opportunity? I know you guys, we contract with the AMR for ambulance service, and they have ambulances stationed throughout the county. Is there a way that Paris could take, and during priority times when they get a lot of calls, maybe station a paramedic unit in the southern area that could be a closer responding unit, and it's not stationed at the station, but maybe during peak commute times, it's stationed closer in the southern area, or is that a operational thing, or is that an opportunity?
So the contract with AMR in western Riverside County is just with that. It's with the county. So the county has the ambulance service contract throughout the entire western Riverside County. And I can talk to AMR and talk to their staff. They usually put their units, I can't think of the word where they just make them stay, where they know system status. So they system status their units, where they know historically where there might be calls, they system status things around.
Councilman Dynas.
Thank you. You can tell by our discussion that we're passionate about our fire safety here, and I just want to take this moment and thank you for coming down here and being willing to be the dartboard for us.
I don't feel that way at all.
Oh, good.
Not even a little bit.
I know.
Not even a little.
That's because you got your two other chiefs here to take the heat.
A good fire chief brings a pack.
That's right. Well, I just want to thank you for it. You have an important job. You keep us safe, and I really appreciate that. And you're talking about your employees, your firefighters in our stations. I think for our city that even though we see a CAL FIRE uniform on them, they're part of our family. They're part of our community. And I just want to thank you for that, and let them know that they're appreciated. They're not overlooked, and that they're part of the community. They're just not a state employee. They're part of Menifee. So I want to thank you for that.
Councilman, I'm glad you brought that up, because I can absolutely tell you the men and women that work here in this city, and they love it. They love what all of you bring to them. They love the high quality fire stations that you've built. You've taken that time, and this community has taken that time to ensure that they have modern, great places to sleep and live during their shifts. Right now they work 11 days a month at a fire station. It's 24s. They don't go see their family. They don't do any of that. They hang out together. They eat their meals together. They laugh together, and they cry together. And you guys have made that happen. And prior cities, council members as well. I recognize that. But it's really a terrific thing that the city does. And the firefighters that work here, they really believe in the city of Menifee, and they believe that you're fire department. Absolutely.
Thank you guys very much.
That was it?
Madam Clerk, we are still on agenda item 10.5. Are there any requests to speak on 10.5?
No, there are none.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, any other comments for all three chiefs?
I move approval.
Okay, I would, before we move that, I would just like to say to Chief Weiser, Scoville, and Chief Olson, thank you so much for being here and answering our questions. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you. And I also really want to just point out, just for a minute again, the great relationship I have with City Manager Armando Villa and also the Assistant City Manager, Mr. Jones. We really appreciate working with them and the communication that we have. Our abilities to pick up the phone and talk quickly and get our points across is exceptional. And I want to thank the fostering of that relationship and how we continue working together.
Thank you very much, Chief Weiser, Chief Olson, and Chief Scoville. I will second the motion to approve 10.5. That is approved. Thank you. Next, we'll move on to item 11 on the agenda, public hearing items. 11.1 is a proposed formation of CFD number 2025-1 Menifee Vista. Madam Clerk, can you please introduce the item?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mayor, City Council. So items 11.1 and 11.2, both recommended actions are to continue these items to the May 7th, 2025 meeting. That is due to the public notice going out for these public hearings, but there was, the developers are in escrow. So there's a change of ownership, which means the ballots that came back would not be for the correct development. So this gives them some time for us to re-get those out. So we'll ask for a motion and a second on both of those items for continuance, again, to May 7th.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. So the recommended action is to vote for a continuance on both 11.1 and 11.2 at the same time. This will be continued to the May 7th council meeting. I have a motion by Councilman Dynas. Can I get a second? Thank you, Councilman Diedrich. Go ahead and cast your votes. And that passes 5-0. Next, we are on 11.3, proposed formation of CFD number 2025-2, Quartz Trail. The first item is 11.3 for the formation of CFD 2025-2 for Quartz Trail. Does the City Council wish to hear a full staff report on the item, or does the council wish to go straight to the public hearing? Straight to the public hearing. Okay.
Second.
You got a third from me. All right. Next, we will go straight to the public hearing, and I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing at 7:35. Madam Clerk, can you confirm this public hearing was legally noticed?
Yes, it was.
Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
Have any written protests been received?
None.
Are there any persons registered to vote in the territory of the district?
There are no registered.
Okay, Madam Clerk, have the owners of all the taxable property consented to holding the special election immediately following the public hearing?
Yes, they have.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do you concur that the special election may be held this evening?
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. I will close the public hearing at 7:36. Does the City Council have any comments? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and ask for a motion and a second to adopt a resolution establishing CFD number 2025-2 and calling an election, and a resolution determining the necessity to incur bonded indebtedness. I have a motion by Carwin, a second by Dynas. Thank you. Council members, cast your vote. Okay, and that passes. Madam Clerk, have you received the official ballots and waivers from the landowners who can cast their votes on behalf of the owners of all the property?
I have, and they were a yes vote.
Okay, thank you. Can I ask for a motion and a second to adopt a resolution declaring the election results? I'll motion to. Second by Dynas. Council, cast your votes. Thank you very much. That passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, can you introduce the ordinance?
It's an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Menifee, California, acting in its capacity as a legislative body of the Community Facilities District number 2025-2 for Quartz Trail of the City of Menifee, authorizing the levy of special taxes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Next, can I ask for a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance? I'll motion. We have a second by Diedrich. Thank you. And that passes 5-0. Next, we're going to move on to 11.4, proposed formation of CFD number 2025-4, Heritage Village. We are on item 11.4 for the formation of that CFD 2025-4 for Heritage Village. Does the City Council wish to hear a presentation on the item, or do we wish to forego the presentation? I wish to forego. No objections. Next, I'll open up the public hearing at 7:37. Madam Clerk, can you please confirm the public hearing was legally noticed?
It was.
Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Have any written protests been received?
None.
Are there any persons registered to vote in the territory of the district?
There are none.
Madam Clerk, have all the owners of the taxable property consented to holding the special election immediately following the public hearing?
Yes, they have.
Do you concur that the special election may be held this evening?
I do.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll close the public hearing at 7:38. Council, any comments or would we like to discuss? Hearing none. Can I ask for a motion and a second to adopt the resolution establishing CFD number 2025-4 and calling an election, and a resolution determining the necessity to incur bonded indebtedness? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Okay. Madam Clerk, have you received the official ballots and waivers from the landowners who can cast their votes on behalf of the owners of all the property?
Yes, I have, and it was a yes vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would like to ask for a motion and a second to adopt a resolution declaring the election results. I'll motion. Oh, Carwin beat me. All right, we have a second by Diedrich. Everyone cast your votes. Okay, thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can you introduce the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Menifee, California, acting in its capacity as a legislative body of Community Facilities District Number 2025-4 for Heritage Village of the City of Menifee, authorizing the levy of special taxes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I ask for a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance? I'll motion. We have a second by Carwin. Thank you. And that passes 5-0. Next, we are on to 11.5, ordinance introduction and annexation of number 27 in Kanto McCall Gas Station into CFD 2017-1 maintenance services. Next is item 11.5 for the annexation into the maintenance CFD 2017-1 for Encanto McCall Gas Station. Does the City Council wish to hear a presentation or forego the presentation? I will say we will forgo. Next, does the council have any questions for staff? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing at 7:40. Madam Clerk, can you confirm the public hearing was legally noticed?
It was.
Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Have any written protests been received?
None.
Are there any persons registered to vote in the territory of the district?
There are none.
Madam Clerk, have all the owners of all the taxable property consented to holding the special election immediately following this public hearing?
They have.
Do you concur that the special election may be held?
I do.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll close the public hearing at 7:41. Council, any comments? Hearing none, then I'll make the motion to approve. Can I get a second? And that passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, have you received the official ballots from the landowners who can cast their votes on behalf of the owners of all the property included in the territory proposed to be annexed?
I have, and they were yes votes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would like to ask for a motion and a second. We have a motion by Dynas and second by Diedrich. Thank you. And that passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, can you please introduce the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of Menifee, California, amending ordinance number 2017-231 and levying special taxes to be collected during fiscal year 2024-25 to pay the annual cost of the maintenance and servicing of streetlights, parks, parkways, streets, roads, and open space, the operation and maintenance of storm drainage systems, a reserve fund for capital replacement and administrative expenses with respect to the City of Menifee Community Facilities District number 2017-1, annexation number 27.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I would like to ask for a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance. I'll motion to approve. We have a second by Dynas. Thank you. And that passes 5-0. We're almost there. 11.6, the last one. Ordinance introduction and annexation of number 29 Heritage Village into Community Facilities 2017-1 maintenance services. The last public hearing for this item, 11.6, for the annexation into the maintenance CFD 2017-1 for Heritage Village. Would the council like to hear a presentation? Hearing none, I'll open up the public hearing. It is 7:43. Madam Clerk, can you please confirm the public hearing was legally noticed?
It was.
Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Have any written protests been received?
None.
Are there any persons registered to vote in the territory of the districts?
There are none.
Madam Clerk, have all the owners of the taxable property consented to holding the special election immediately following the public hearing?
They have.
Do you concur that the special election may be held?
I do.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'll close the public hearing at 7:43. Council, any comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to adopt a resolution calling an election and to levy a special tax to the land. We have a motion and a second. Thank you. That passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, have you received the official ballots from the landowners who can cast their votes on behalf of the owners of all the property included in the territory proposed to be annexed?
I have, and they were yes votes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to ask for a motion and a second. I'll go ahead and motion. Councilman Dynas second, and please cast your votes. And that passes 5-0. Madam Clerk, can you please introduce the ordinance?
An ordinance of the City of Menifee, California, amending ordinance number 2017-231 and levying special taxes to be collected during fiscal year 2024-25 to pay the annual cost of the maintenance and servicing of streetlights, parks, parkways, streets, roads, and open space, the operation and maintenance of storm drainage systems, a reserve fund for capital replacement, and administrative expenses with respect to the City of Menifee Community Facilities District number 2017-1 for annexation 29.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I ask for a motion and a second to introduce the ordinance? I'll motion. Second from Diedrich. And that passes 5-0. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I appreciate your teamwork on that. Next, we're going to move on to agenda item 12, Cal State San Marcos Extension Tenant Improvements Funding Options. I see our Deputy City Manager, Rebecca Kramer. Good evening. Can you please introduce the item?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public that have joined us. The item before you this evening was a future agenda item requested by the Council to discuss the potential funding options for California State University San Marcos Extension tenant improvements at the Mount San Jacinto College Temecula campus. This evening we will have Mandy Stevens presenting the item, providing a brief background and overview, and then opening the time for discussion and further direction from Council. Thank you.
Good evening, Ms. Stevens.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Mandy Stevens, Management Analyst with the City Executive Office. So a little bit of background about this future agenda item request. The Southwestern Riverside County Higher Education Coalition was formed to expand access to higher education in the region. Its board includes representatives from regional public agencies and community partners. Recognizing the need for local public university programs, the coalition is working to expand opportunities for four-year degrees in the area. On March 6th, 2024, the City Council adopted a resolution supporting the expansion of public higher education in Southwest Riverside County and funding tenant improvements for the Cal State San Marcos at MSJC's Temecula campus. In December 2024, Council requested a future agenda item to explore funding options for an expansion at MSJC's Temecula campus. This $18 million project will be phased, with phase one focusing on the facilities for nursing, business administration, and computer engineering. To date, the coalition has secured close to $8 million. So our next steps are to open up this discussion, and you may choose to continue to support the coalition as established under the resolution, to support regional efforts of in-kind services and letters of support on the state and federal levels, or you may discuss funding options for a financial contribution. So with that, I will take any questions and let you guys discuss.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens, for the introduction. Council, this is the opportunity for questions. Councilman Dynas?
Thank you. What are kind of in-kind services would the city be able to provide?
So we've been assisting with federal and state funding requests through letters of support.
So no staff time or anything like that would be as in kind, just strictly, writing letters and shaking trees and see how much money falls out of them. Yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Hey, thank you. So Mount San Jacinto's Menifee campus is affiliated with UMass Global, right? Formerly Brandman University. Do they still operate out of MSJC's Menifee campus?
We can verify for you, but I don't know the answer.
I don't know that, sorry.
It's my understanding that they're a four-year degree program. They offer a bachelor's out of UMass Global out of there, don't they?
I was looking in the back and I see Economic Development, Kayla Charters, coming to the podium. Mrs. Charters, looks like you may have some clarification for the council. Good evening.
The one night Stacy Hartfield isn't here.
Good evening, Kayla Charters, Economic Development Manager. I don't believe the UMass Global's there anymore, but MSJC has affiliations with over 40 plus universities. So there is pathways to get your bachelor's degree through the school, but not through UMass Global anymore.
Okay, so the MSJC Menifee campus already offers our local residents a pathway to a 4-year degree right there in Menifee.
Yes.
Okay. And then regarding this, back to them, thank you. Regarding this proposed Cal State San Marcos, is that an encapsulated program? Like if a student lives in Menifee, could they do a 4-year degree without having to leave Temecula?
I believe that's what the intention is, yes. If I could add to that, so they will be expanding for the Temecula campus, expanding class programming primarily in the sciences, nursing, and the like. It will really depend on the degree program that an individual is pursuing. So some, but maybe not all classes would be able to be provided at that campus at this time.
Right, so I guess what you're saying, if somebody wanted a bachelor's in nursing, they could do the whole 4-year program in Temecula without having a split time between there and San Marcos or other locations? That's the plan?
That is the intent, yes.
I see. All right, thank you.
Councilman Dinas.
Thank you. So the total improvement, tenant improvements is 18 million to take that building and make it into classrooms. And you said they've got 8 million either in commitments or in cash, whatever that might be.
Correct.
How close are they to, this 10 million is still a long ways away if you don't have it. So my question is, if we commit any kind of funds, I mean, is this just commitment right now and wait till they get to 18 million, or they take $1 million, we give them, what I think Temecula gave them $1 million or whatever it is,
right.
Whatever funds we decided, they just sit on that until they get to 18 million.
They're working on it in phases, so as far as the funding, I don't know if they're going to be using a certain amount or if I'd have to find out more information on that. I can maybe speak to that, Councilmember, thank you. They will essentially be moving forward with the project as they have the available funding, but they will need the 18 million to do. So it's essentially one floor of the Temecula campus that would be dedicated to the Cal State San Marcos programming, and they would need the 18 million to proceed with that. So they would hold on to whatever contributions that had been made or committed to until they're able to move forward with the full tenant improvement.
Okay, so nothing happens till they get the full 18 million? Is that correct? Or they're going to take the 8 million they have and do what they can and wait for the rest?
They may break it into different components if they're able to do that, but they will need more than the $8 million to do basic renovations and tenant improvements at the site to allow for programming.
And has anyone else, other city other than Temecula, contributed?
No, not at this time. The primary source of funding has been ARPA, American Rescue Plan funding that's been contributed, and they are pursuing other grant dollars, including community project funding.
And since this is a state university, the state of California participating at all?
At this time, they have not committed anything other than to be able to provide class programming. So obviously the professors that would be doing the instructional programming at that site. Okay. But in terms of tenant improvements, no.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see any other questions in the queue. Oh, in late, Councilman Diedrich.
Sorry. First, Dean asked the question I was going to ask, so I didn't have a question, but then now I have another one. So my understanding as well is initially Cal State San Marcos was who was first being involved, and they still heavily are involved. But my understanding, and maybe you have some clarification on that, is that other universities are likewise. So now it's a university center. It's not just a Cal State San Marcos center. It's a university center. UCR, CBU, other universities are also interested in offering courses there in that location where this
That-
before, correct?
That would be the potential. So it is an MSJC campus, and the funding would be provided to Mount San Jacinto for the tenant improvements, and it would allow for 4-year degree programming and classes to be provided there by Cal State San Marcos or any other university that would be able to service our region.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, any requests to speak, or has any correspondence been received on this item?
No correspondence. I do have one public speaker.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call the public speaker?
Michael Knighton.
Welcome, Mr. Knighton.
Good evening, Council. I'll introduce myself, Mike Knighton, member of Southwest Riverside County Coalition of Higher Education. I shouldn't be here tonight. I got a text at 5:55 this evening. Hey, go speak on this issue. And it's a lot easier to speak on that side than it is on here. But anyways, I spoke with Dr. Lisa DeForest. She's the chairwoman of this coalition. She was unable to make it this evening. And then I got a text from Lisa Sobek. She's the vice chair of the coalition. She's unable to make it tonight because she's sick. But you guys all know the value of higher education, 4-year colleges. I just want to say I'm blue collar. I've been blue collar for 40 years. I never thought of the kids going down to San Marcos, but I work in San Diego. I have to do that Temecula freeway thing, and it is horrible. I couldn't imagine the kids going to San Marcos, doing their course time, and then having to drive through Temecula every day to get back here. Eventually they're going to drop out, and they're not going to complete their education. Or they might find easier routes and move out of state and not come back. So I'm in support of this. I'm not speaking on behalf of them, the chair and the co-chair. I don't have their speaking abilities, so I apologize. But I think we should all support this. And another thing that I brought up, that I just recently thought about, like I said, I didn't have any time to prepare, I'm sorry. It's Innovation District, south of Scott Road. That's not gonna happen unless we got unless we got the manpower. And we need those 4-year degrees to go there. So personal opinion, that vision, and Brian's not even here right now, but if we want those people, if we want those businesses you guys are all dreaming about, Plan 1, Plan 2, Plan 3, whatever, we need the manpower. And we need the people with the degrees, because, that's the way it's gonna be. So, sorry I'm rambling, almost out of time. So, anyways, I just wanna let you know, I'm supporting the other project. I wish you guys support this too, and find some way to get money there. At least it's a commitment. You don't need the money today. It can go 2-3 years, most likely. But anyways, thanks for your time.
Madam Clerk, any other public speakers?
No other speakers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, Council. Okay, Council. This is the time for discussion. Okay, Councilman Diedrich.
Yes, thank you. The council member that's been tasked to sitting on this committee. I've been in attendance, only briefly. I've been to 2 meetings so far since starting, but I think education is, a pillar of a strong city, right? I think there's different paths. 4-year degrees is one path. The trades are another path. I think there's many opportunities, but I think having that capability of educating our youth here locally is important, right? I mean, we have a huge brain drain of people going away, getting educated, and they don't come back. If we can keep people local, I understand it's not in Menifee. I wish it were in Menifee, right? It's not ideal that it's not in Menifee, but it's within our region of keeping people here present. Again, it's only a few degrees that we're talking about right now, nursing, business administration, computer engineering, things like that. but it's the entryway. It's the beginning of bringing four-year universities here. So I'm strongly in favor of continuing to support this, however that looks.
Councilman Dynas.
I'd have to, I think what Councilman Dietrich kind of said the same thing I did, that the importance of it, the ability to go to school and finish a four-year degree close by, has its benefit not only to the individual, but the community as a whole. But the question that's being before us now is, what kind of support are we willing to give? At this moment, I think providing a monetary commitment is a little premature in my mind. I think that, as they get closer to the 18 million, if there's a need to shortfall or something, and Menifee has that ability to assist, so that to shore up that shortfall, that would be a benefit to our community and our future students. But I think right now, it'd be most appropriate to do the first option. That is, the letter writing, the support, the meeting with whoever has to be met with to get some funds and things like that would be my preferred way of doing it, and then not do a financial obligation at this time.
Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councilman Dynas. Anything that we can do in form of saying we're in favor of this to support decision-making on high, absolutely. I mean, obviously we don't, I'm not here to oppose schools. I think that Temecula does have a tremendous financial stake in what's going on down here. I understand their eagerness to invest in it. We're a little bit more peripheral on that benefit. I mean, we do have a campus here, as we heard earlier, that does offer pathways to four-year degrees already in the city of Menifee. So that brain drain, I was just looking it up on the website. Cal Baptist University Online offers a four-year pathway program through MSJC. We do have that stuff here from that standpoint, but more education opportunities is good. So I would be in favor of an MOU or any kind of letters of support or things like that. It does speak to me a little bit that nobody from Cal State San Marcos is here. I also wonder, with all of the budgeting issues in the state of California, if the school is ever actually even going to happen. And if it doesn't happen, if they collect $16 million, which is not enough to do it, and the state decides not to move forward with the program, what happens to that money? They're not just going to give it back. So I have some questions about the viability of the program that would need to be answered. And, if the Board of Regents for Cal State San Marcos is here going, we're dedicated to making Temecula Valley the next hotbed of education, that would speak volumes, but they're not. And so at this point, I support the idea of it, but I don't think it's time for Menifee to take our general fund dollars and put them into the city of Temecula in this program.
I'm for investing infrastructure money on buildings and education here in Menifee. I don't want to be exporting our taxpayer dollars to Temecula. I understand the need for education. The difference between in mileage from Temecula, that MSJC campus, to UCR is a difference of 4 miles. If a dedicated student wants to get an education, get a 4-year degree in any topic, they will go to UCR. They will go to, they can even go to APU. I got my master's degree in Marietta. I got my master's degree in education in Marietta. We have options in our neighboring city, and any dedicated student wouldn't be disheartened by driving 4 extra miles to UC Riverside compared to the MSJC campus in Temecula. I'm not an advocate of encouraging our residents to go gas up, have lunch in Temecula, and sending our infrastructure dollars there. We talked about earlier in our capital improvement plan, in our budget forecast, things are going to get tighter. Things aren't as optimistic as they used to be. We had a 6% GDP, or I'm sorry, 6% growth forecast, but things are going to be a little bit more conservative lately. We're only forecasting to grow at 2% instead of the 6%. So I would encourage the letters of support. We have a public information office that reaches out to me continually through email asking if I will send letters of support on behalf of the city for grant funding, and I am more than happy to work with you, Councilman Diedrich. If you see an opportunity for Menifee to advocate for grant funding at the state level on behalf of Temecula, I am more than happy to work with you on that. At this point in time, I think the Menifee capital improvement money or potential capital improvement money should be spent on buildings here. Those are my thoughts. Anything else from council? I see Diedrich in the queue. Go ahead, Councilman Diedrich.
Yes, I would just like to thank everyone here up on the dais for their contributions and their thoughts. Like I said, I highly encourage that we continue supporting in any way possible, including advocating, being a part of those letter writing campaigns, helping seek additional funding for this campus. And I don't see it as a gift to Temecula per se, even though it might be initially located in Temecula, right? I would just like to keep it on our radar to still continue being involved, and as it progresses, see if there's any way that we can contribute in the future as we go forward.
Okay, it sounds like we have some direction from a majority of the council staff. Do you need any other clarification? I heard from a majority a willingness to support or send letters of support and letters supporting legislation for funding. Is there any other clarification you need?
There is not, Mayor. We have everything that we need at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Deputy City Manager Kramer.
Thank you.
Next, we will move on to agenda item 12.2, Menifee Sphere of Influence Agreement Options. Could I ask Acting Community Development Director Orlando Hernandez to introduce the item, please? Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. The following item tonight, it has a history of 4 years, so lead planner Doug Darnell will give you a short presentation and summarize what we've done over the last 4 years with this item. So without further ado, Doug Darnell.
Good evening, Mr. Darnell.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. The item before you is consideration of options for a professional services agreement related to amending the city's sphere of influence. We'll provide you a bit of background here before we get into the agreement. Since 2020, the City Council has held workshops to discuss and study alternatives for amending the city's sphere of influence, referred to as the SOI, for area east of the city. More recently, Council has expressed an interest in 1,929 acres located easterly of Briggs Road to Leon Road and from Old Newport Road to Scott Road. As you can see here, the roughly 1,900 acre area is the colored area shown at the lower right-hand corner of the map. It's the same area that's currently within the county's Menifee Valley Sun City area plan. The area includes approximately 75 large parcels that comprise roughly 1,500 acres. The remainder consists of Liberty High School and new tract developments located in the southern portion near Liberty High and Scott Road. So on October 22nd, staff had provided an update to City Council on the Local Agency Formation Commission's, otherwise known as LAFCO, their July 2022 adoption of updates to municipal service reviews and sphere of influence recommendations for county jurisdictions. There were a number of key recommendations, a few of which are shown here. At that time, the council received and filed the update and appointed an ad hoc committee of 2 members from the council, former Mayor Zimmerman and Councilman Dinas, to meet and discuss the city's interest with in the sphere amendment with county staff, supervisor's office, and the Winchester MAC, our Municipal Advisory Committee. After a number of ad hoc meetings, on March 20th, 2024, the council had discussed options for an SOI amendment and potential annexation. At that time, the council voted 3-2, directing staff to prepare a request for proposals for an SOI amendment and potential annexation of the 1,900-acre area. The RFP was released. A first RFP was released June 26, 2024. We did not receive proposals on that one, but released a second one later in September of 24. We received 3 proposals in response to the RFP. So here, this shows the 3 firms that proposed on this effort and proposal scores. We had an evaluation committee of 3 city staff that reviewed and scored the proposals based on qualifications and experience, project team approach, quality, and cost. And from the scoring, the top 2 firms, MS Engineering and Rincon, were selected to move forward in the process. So at the city's request, both firms provided a best and final offer to provide their most competitive cost proposal to meet the city's budgetary requirements. The city selected MNS Engineering as a preferred consultant based on cost, proposal evaluation score, and an interview held on January 4th, 2025. Oh, sorry, going the wrong way. So with that, we have some options for the council to consider, and should the city council choose to move forward with pursuing a sphere amendment, we have 2 options that are provided. The first option, option 1, is a limited project phase 1, which involves a fiscal analysis at the cost you see here, roughly $85,000. And this would really just give us the analysis to really understand the cost and benefit to the city of moving further forward with an effort to amend our sphere. Upon completion of the fiscal analysis, staff would return to council to present findings of the analysis prior to moving forward with any additional phases. So then option 2 is the full project, which includes the fiscal analysis in option 1, plan of services, the sphere amendment, a general plan amendment, annexation, CEQA analysis, and so forth. So the total cost of that, there's a couple ways it could go, either with an EIR, as you see there, roughly $550,000, or possibly with an EIR addendum, roughly a little over $369,000. So those are the options. Just a few other considerations for the council. In terms of LAFCO process and timelines, the city is required to complete the work for the fiscal analysis, general plan amendment, EIR, per option 2 prior to submitting an application to LAFCO. And then you have the LAFCO process. So in addition to other considerations, in addition to consultant cost, the full project would involve significant staff effort involving multiple departments, for at least 12 to 18 months, as well as significant workload prioritization. And last, there is no guarantee LAFCO will approve an amendment to our sphere or annexation. So kind of rolling the dice on that. So with that, our recommendation is, should the council move forward with the amendment, the two options that are provided are the phase one fiscal analysis, or approve. Okay, so option one, should the council move forward, option one is approve an agreement with M&S Consulting for phase one, which is just a fiscal analysis, not to exceed an amount of $85,750, or option two, approve an agreement with M&S Consulting for the sphere amendment, annexation, total not to exceed $550,225 with an EIR, or $369,705 with an EIR addendum. And that's staff's recommendation. Staff's prepared to answer questions of the council at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Principal Planner Darnell. We appreciate the hard work you have done on this, and we know you've invested a lot of many months into this process, and we appreciate your efforts along the way. I see Assistant City Manager Jones in the queue.
Just to clarify, to start it out is the real question is, do you want to proceed with the sphere of influence amendment? So that's a yes or no question. And then if it's yes, then you have two options. So we're asking two different questions there, just to clarify.
Thank you. First in the queue, I see Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you. I'm a little bit confused by the terminology sphere of influence here, because sphere of influence isn't up to us, right? So we're asking to have say over what happens. Sphere of influence, to my understanding, was we're asking to have a seat at the table on what happens on that property, not we'd like that property to be part of Menifee.
That's correct. A sphere amendment does not give us control or put that into our jurisdiction. What it does is it does involve a general plan amendment, which allows us to plan for that area, to general plan land uses. And as a sphere, yeah, we get a little bit more say, but it's just the path for future annexations, really. And,
right.
And it's subject to LAFCO approval.
Right. So if all we want is a say in what happens in the planning area, we don't need to do either of these two things. But if we're looking to build a path towards annexation, we need to do one of these two things, right?
Right.
Is there any overlap between these two? Like, does number two include the services in number one? Or if we do number one and then want to do number two, will that roll into it, or are they two separate charges?
If we were to do number one, that would roll into number two.
If we were to annex this property, I know that currently it's zoned 100% residential. Is it something that we would be permitted to rezone to our discretion if we annexed this property? Is it something that we can make into commercial or something else?
Right. Well, we're going to do the sphere amendment, we would have to amend general plan land use, meaning we're including area that's currently under the county's general plan. That happens with a sphere amendment. But with the sphere amendment, there is importance in land use consistency between the county's plans and what we're adding to our plan. So yes, we can change. One step further with an annexation process, then there's pre-zoning that goes along with an annexation, because we need to have zoning of that land. And I think some level of changes can occur there, but generally, it needs to be pretty consistent with what the current county's land use planning is.
So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. If we were to go all the way through and get everything approved by LAFCO and do everything we need to do and then ultimately annex this 1,900 acres, we would be doing that with the anticipation of this being residential.
That's correct.
What does that, would we then, if we annexed it, and maybe this is a question for Mr. Melching, if we were to annex this 1,900 acres zoned as residential in the variety that it is, does that entitle us to a recalculation of our RENA numbers throughout the city?
Well,
I've never seen Mr. Attorney Melching give that response, so good question, Mayor Pro Tem.
It's a fabulous question. I think Mr. Darnell has an answer, but I'm going to take my shot at it. The RENA numbers are set once every 8 years. Our RENA numbers today are our RENA numbers. They're not going to change until the next general plan cycle. If we had additional land in our city during the next cycle, that would get taken into account in determining our RENA numbers for the next cycle. You may have been asking a different question, which is if we were able to, before the next cycle, incorporate this land into our territory and then develop new homes on that land, would that actually count against our RENA numbers? And I think the answer to that question is yes, but I'm not 100% sure. It's a pretty esoteric question.
Right, so because we went through and rezoned some commercial property throughout the city as residential in order to comply with RENA, if we were to annex this property as all of this residential, would we be able to undo that and make it commercial again and still be in compliance?
Those are great questions, and
Thank you.
I think the answer to that, yeah, I think the answer to those great questions is probably yes. Because one of the reasons that we did that was to wrestle with this, you know, to achieve our RENA number, and also to have enough of a buffer that when a project came in and it actually built less than we anticipated, that we didn't create what's called a net loss, which then forced us to go find another site in order to bring us back up to our RENA number, if that makes sense.
It does.
Say you plan for 100 units, they build 80 units, it creates a 20-unit deficit. It then becomes incumbent on the city to go find some other property where we can allow 20 more units in order to get back up to our RENA targets. If we were to annex new land and then provide for development potential on that new land, then we would suffer less of those no net loss problems, and we could potentially go back to pieces of property that we previously set aside for housing development because we had to, and then change that designation back to a non-housing designation.
Is there anything in the RENA program that allows for a significant change in circumstances and a recalculation before the next 8-year cycle? Like, just as wildly, if two cities merged, the numbers would be wacky all over the place. So in this particular case, taking on this additional piece of property would be a significant change in circumstances. Would we be eligible to apply for a recalculation? Does that exist?
I don't know whether we could recalculate our RENA number, but we could potentially rejigger our housing element, but it would require us to show a different way that we would get to the RENA number that was assigned to us a few years ago.
That's, of course, presuming that we leave all of this residential.
Correct.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, RENA is looking at added residential units, and so it's not as though the fact that you've taken existing residential units into your city is going to move the needle on that. You're going to have to create development potential in order for that to happen.
And there's nothing saying that these homes would qualify for RENA numbers.
Yeah, we could make them all apartments if we wanted to. All right, that's all I have. Thanks.
I see no other, another late horse comes in. All right, Councilman Dynas.
Thank you. We recently signed an MOU with the county to, you know, that we kind of have the seat at the table to work in that, to work with them so we know what's going on there, and we get kind of have that that dialogue going back and forth with the development happening in the unincorporated area, and because it'll affect our, our city with the additional traffic and things like that. Is that pretty much, is that satisfying what we're looking for as a sphere of influence? Is that working out well enough for that?
I don't know that that's really the goal of the sphere of influence, but the MOU, it gives us a framework for how the county and the city staff will work together in cooperation. On projects, they will consider our input on projects in the county, and they will consider, and then we'll consider their input on our projects in the city. So that's really what that MOU is about. I think there may be a little more control with the sphere in terms of now that would become part of our planning area under the general plan. So I really couldn't say how much more seat at the table, though, honestly, that's going to get us. I mean, until an area actually gets annexed, the county still has control of development.
Right.
Until it becomes the city's jurisdiction.
Right. This all started out with, all these thousands and thousands of homes being built out to the east of us through down Montgomery Highway, all the way out there. And the concern was that, it'll overtax our roads here, and there's no compensation or any consideration on what it's doing to our city, the traffic levels, the wear and tear on our streets and everything else. That was a big part of the reason why we started going down this road to do this. I mean, do we give that up if we just say no more of this, doing this sphere of influence, or is there a way that we can, work with the county or something to, because all the developers will go out and build their things without having to put any kind of funds towards to mitigate anything that's affecting Menifee, and then they're right back to where we started, more traffic and no money to do anything about it.
Yeah, Councilmember Dines, we don't give anything away if the council decides not to move forward with anything. Obviously, there's a CEQA process that we participate as projects go through the process. So we will make comments on the CEQA documents. We will make comments on traffic. Oftentimes, there's mitigations that actually have to occur within the city limits. So we still have the opportunity to make those comments as those county projects go through the process.
Okay. Thank you. That answered that question then. For the 87,000, they're going to study to see whether it's a good idea to do it or not. Is that kind of what we're hearing?
It's just basically a fiscal analysis as to how much the property brings and what the services we have to provide and what's the difference between the two. A cost-benefit analysis, basically.
Cost versus revenue.
Right. I knew that when LAFCO did their original municipal services review study, that originally it said that Menifee would serve this area better, but it was manipulated and changed to so that it would then say that we'd work with the county and everything to do that. So, I mean, with that being, so I understand that that area would, in fact, initially was decided it would have been better served by Menifee. My question, though, is, and maybe, city manager, assistant city manager can answer that. For $87,000, I think we can kind of, I guess my question is, what benefit will this give to the city by annexing that? Is there something that we're missing? I know in the past we're talking about, being able to dump money and, that we'll have some more control instead of it going into the pot where this property here that's going to be developed will impact Menifee, but we won't have access to the funds because it's in the county. That was part of the concerns. But I guess my question is, what other benefits do we get from doing this?
So what is described as a benefit is a matter of opinion. And a benefit to who? whether we can provide better services to this area, but are we collecting revenues to provide those services? Currently, right now, on property taxes, we get about 13 cents on every dollar that people pay in property taxes. Most of it goes to school districts and the county. Also, when land is annexed in from the city, you have a 20-year revenue neutrality agreement with the county, and so you're providing a lot of services without much new revenue at a very impactful cost. So if currently today, we spend, and why shouldn't we spend? We invest about $30 million in our police department and $20 million in our fire department. So that's $50 million. We do not collect $50 million in property taxes from our residents. So if you're looking at, do we pay for our public safety based off property taxes, the answer is no. And that doesn't also include roadway maintenance and parks maintenance. So most of our revenue that is contributing to this is our sales tax revenue and Measure DD revenue. And those are higher than our property taxes and help fund those kind of services. So when we looking at a residential area of 1,900 acres and bringing in more residential homes don't always or don't often contribute all the necessary revenue, and that's why a city needs sales tax revenue to offset that and support that, and different types of revenue. And so that's why we have a very colorful wheel on our revenue stream, and property tax is a portion of it. We will still serve all those residents with sales tax revenue, and if they remain in the county, then they can go home and the county can provide services based on the property taxes, and we can provide the restaurants and the food and the commercial retail and shopping here in Menifee. We still have access to the TUMF dollars because we are a member of Western Riverside Council of Governments, and we go up and have meetings with our public works team and our planning team and our city manager team and the executive board, and we make decisions on where those TUMF go as a regional board meeting, and we prioritize those funds with TUMF. And TUMF is the Transportation Uniform Mitigation Fee program, and we did, when the county worked on the land use plan for the Winchester Community Plan, we did send a number of comment letters to them, encouraging them to look at this from a holistic perspective of the infrastructure impacts that the land use, because you don't just do land use in a silo without looking at the infrastructure or the impacts to the regional neighbors. And so Temecula, Marietta, and the city of Menifee all made comment letters saying you can't do land use without also studying infrastructure. And we are now working with Juan Perez, the assistant executive officer, and his team in the planning and public works and transportation at the county to further evaluate and identify the impacts of the Winchester Community Plan that was being planned in the county on how they're going to get to the jobs and the commercial and the freeways that don't serve the Winchester area right now. And so how do they go through our communities to get to those land uses? And that wasn't studied as part of that community plan. We wrote letters on that, and the Board of Supervisors ultimately directed county staff to work with the local agencies, and that's where this MOU collaboration is going to work. When you talk about benefits, you could say we have more local control over the TUMP, but there's already mechanisms with WRCOG to do that. So what projects are funded, although we could create an MOU with the county to address the capacity and the infrastructure needs. There is Liberty High School out there. I know Liberty High School has expressed interest because we pay for more of the school site resource officer, and a lot of the students are coming from the city of Menifee. But there are ways that could be navigated with RSO and the Menifee Police Department. And then, of course, you have, if you're a historian, the historical community plan for the Sun City Menifee included this area, but 16 years ago when we incorporated, this land was not created as a sphere of influence or incorporated. And then, of course, if it was annexed into the city, eventually there's a revenue neutrality on that land, and so we'd be further hampered to provide services without the revenues.
So, in your professional opinion, I know, and as well as the city manager, you've been doing this for a very long time. What do you think the $8,000 study will tell us?
That we're going to be providing a lot of services without getting a lot of revenue to provide the services.
Thank you.
Well, you could have just said that. No. Thank you, Assistant City Manager Jones. I see no other questions in the queue. Madam Clerk, are there any other requests? Are there requests to speak from the public, or has any correspondence been received?
No correspondence, but I do have 2 public speakers.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you please call the first public speaker?
Angela Little, followed by James Horeca.
Welcome, Mrs. Little.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Little, and I'm a Winchester resident. The discussions about annexation and sphere of influence to date by this council have focused on the dollars that it will take to bring an application to LAFCO so they can get it approved. I wanted to expand a little bit into an exploded view of that LAFCO process, that is the barrier to entry. And Bob Carwin spoke of it eloquently when we discussed this the last time, that he didn't think that we had a good chance of getting this past LAFCO. And I want you to know that I'm not 100% sure that you've heard the straight story from either your SOI ad hoc committee or your staff about the precedent that was set by LAFCO in 2022. The city asked LAFCO for a sphere of influence amendment in that MSR. They said no. They said no unequivocally. They said no because approval of that SOI amendment would be contrary to their existing policy. An easterly expansion would split off a portion of an existing identifiable community. They went further, they went further and supported and said they expressed their support of the Winchester Community Plan. They said that they believe that they should not divide the Winchester community, and that that the entirety of the Winchester Community Plan should remain intact as one united community. Now, your Sphere of Influence Ad Hoc Committee, I don't know if they could take that hard no for an answer, so they decided to meet with Supervisor Washington to see if they could get his support for an annexation and Sphere of Influence amendment. And when they laid that out to him, Supervisor Washington is a smart man and acknowledges completely your authority over your own actions and financial decisions. And he said, quote, "You can proceed with that if you want to, but the county is going to continue to treat this area as part of the Winchester Community Plan." And 13 months later, when that finally came back around to you, it was described, that meeting was described as having garnered Supervisor Washington's support by Mr. Darnell in his staff presentation in 2024. In my opinion, which you can take for what it's worth, this is not going to get past LAFCO. They've already made this decision. They made it in 2022, and there is nothing before you tonight as a city council to make you believe that you can overcome and change that decision that they've already made. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Little. Madam Clerk, next speaker.
James Horeca.
Welcome, Mr. Horeca.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is James Horeca, AIA. I'm a resident of Winchester, and thank you for those who mentioned the name Winchester in your discussions. That's much appreciated and did not appear on the agenda. I built my house in Winchester 38 years ago, and the 5 next door to it. in the community, which has been around for about 135 years. For full disclosure, I am co-founder of the Winchester Homeland Municipal Advisory Council, which was formed about 15 years ago, and I've been secretary of that since the inception. However, tonight I'm speaking solely on my own behalf as a resident of the town. I'm a licensed architect, licensed contractor, certified access specialist, spent about a decade as staff architect working for the Disney Island Resort, where I won the Walt Disney Legacy Award for those who create, design, and inspire. So part of the reason I moved to Winchester, was to be in an area that was kind of a clean slate, if you will. I came from the waterfront slums of Los Angeles, where things had been beaten to a pulp, if you will, and was grateful for fresh air to bring up my daughter out in this rural area at the time. Now, even though I acknowledge that Winchester is a very rural area, at the time it only had about 800 residents or so, I also fully acknowledge that it's in a path of growth. I'm not by any means anti-growth. I am in favor of thoughtful, inspired growth. I know Winchester also aspires for that, which is why we spent so much time working on the general plan amendment and the Winchester community plan. There are a lot of citizens in Winchester, myself included, who hope to control our own destiny. And I come to you asking as a citizen that you respect our ability in Winchester as a whole, the whole 35 square miles or so of it, to do that. Give us the breathing space to direct our own destiny and to complete our Winchester community plan and grow as we see fit. So I oppose the increase in a sphere of influence, and especially the annexation of parts or whole of Winchester in the future from either Menifee or, for that matter, Hemet. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horeca. We appreciate your comments. Madam Clerk, any other comments tonight?
No other speakers.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Seeing as no more public comments, this is the time for the council to discuss. Councilman Dynas.
I'll spare Bob having to go first. I just start off with saying that this council has said over and over again that that we do support Winchester as a community. We were there at one time, and as a new city or trying to start a new city. I mean, we're not against that. We support it. I look forward to, in the future, working with them to bring forth their own city. I was on the ad hoc committee, and things were said with meetings and things a little differently. I remember it differently. I'm sure former Mayor Zimmerman did as well. That being said, I know, the concern that I have is the growth outside this city and the impact it has on us. From what I hear, there's ways to handle most of the issues. As Brian mentioned on that, there's ways to make sure that the growth outside the city is monitored by the city. There's avenues to challenge those things, and so that, to me, that's the important part. It would be nice because the 1,900 acres was part of the original plan. For some reason, it got dropped off. Forever a mystery on that. But I think my main concern tonight is that there are any growth out towards that way past our city limits, that we're able to work with the county and mitigate all the potential impacts that we have on our city. And whether we need $87,000 to tell us that, as our management team has told us, that they've given us the short answer on it already. you know, that's left for the council to decide, but it was kind of a lot of money to get a no answer. So, you know, I would think we have better ways to spend our money.
Councilman Temple.
Yeah, you know, for a year and a half, 2 years or so, I've listened to the various things said about this, about annexation of this portion of Winchester. And as I've thought about it more, and as I've looked a little more and read into it, you know, the question I keep asking myself is, and I don't want to, you know, I certainly don't want to disparage what's been said by the Winchester residents. But the question is, how would this benefit Menifee? That ultimately is the question. I understand from City Manager Jones the issues of services provided, the cost of providing that, and you know, as I look at those things, I just think it's an unreasonable thing for us to, you know, pursue that at that cost of money when the ultimate outcome is going to be increasing what we spend, and really all we've done is we've kind of fractured a map that belongs to Winchester. Like Dean said, how it got excised from that map long ago, we don't know, but it's now part of Winchester, and I just think that it would be an unwise use of funds to pursue the study on the sphere of influence, or to go as far as the annex. I don't think there's any reasonable benefit to our city for doing that.
Mayor Pro Tem Carwin.
Thank you. You know, the most compelling reason I've heard for wanting to pursue this property is the location of Liberty High School. A lot of Menifee students go to Liberty High School. People consider it to be a Menifee high school, even though it's not in Menifee right now. And we don't control the campus, but it's Paris Union School District anyway, so it's still not our school. Even if we were to annex this property, Liberty High School doesn't become a Menifee high school. It's still a Paris Union School District high school. I've said it from in every meeting that I've been involved in with this property. I've said I think we dodged a bullet by whoever didn't include that in the original map. And with all due respect to Angela Little, I don't know why you guys want it either. Formulating a new city with this big chunk of dead residential property seems to be a burden to take on right out of the gate. But it doesn't seem, I'm not, one of the proposals I've heard also from people who were involved in this from the beginning, who are proponents of it, is saying, hey, look, we would then have control over the development in that area. And that was what I was saying. If we could turn this into a money-making piece of property, that's a different discussion. But Mr. Darnell answered that tonight saying, no, we pretty much got to stick with that. If we went to LAFCO and said we're going to change this to all commercial, they would say, no way. And so, well, we just don't tell them, and then we just do it. That we get sued for that as well. So I'm not seeing any indicators that this is going to be a benefit to the city of Menifee to take on. And I'm seeing indicators that we could spend all of this money and submit the application and have it rejected anyway. Then not only are we out the $85,000, but we're also out the $500,000 for the CEQA report, and then nothing. So it doesn't seem to be a wise choice. Now, I would like to have some say in what goes on over there, which brings us back to our original request for sphere of influence. But sphere of influence isn't a path to annexation. From the beginning, that's what I've believed. We want a seat at the table so we can say, hey, look, you can't put 4,000 apartments on that 1,900 acres unless you allow us a toll booth at Briggs Road, which I would be in favor of. But I don't see a benefit to this, and I'm not in favor of pursuing either of the recommendations or either of the suggestions, and neither of them are recommendations with respect to staff. The two proposals or options. Let's go with options. I'm not in favor of either of these two options. I'm in favor of partnering with them and working with them with handshakes and input and letters and attending hearings and letting it go at that.
Councilman Diedrich.
I don't know what I have left to say at this point. I think everything that I was going to say has been said eloquently by the three gentlemen before me. You know, just based on everything we've seen and heard, it would be a financial net loss for us to take on, and the residents don't want us to take them on, so it seems like a lose-lose prospect here. You mentioned Liberty High School, Bob. You know, my daughter went to Herc Boris Elementary School, which is a Menifee Union School District, but it's in the city of Lake Elsinore, right? And those maps, school district maps and city maps just don't always line up. So I don't see the benefit other than potentially Menifee Police Department being in there as their campus officers instead of the sheriff. But, you know, I talked about that with staff, and even that could be gotten around, right? I mean, it would be an agreement between sheriffs and Menifee PD if we wanted to swap out, if we thought it was that important. So I really don't see, I understand the historical context of that it was always supposed to be included in the Menifee map, but it's not, and I don't see us trying to fix that now would have any great benefit to anybody involved.
And I would like to say the message that I heard from Mr. Horick and giving Winchester the ability to manage their own self-destiny, that really resonated with me. I want to be a good neighbor to Winchester and all of their future prospects and respect the aspirations they have for themselves. I think what many of my colleagues mentioned was that this is a gamble, sending it to LAFCO, spending $500,000 for something we're not sure about. And then even after that, should we annex it, the revenue neutrality that we would split with the county 50-50 would make it difficult for the city of Menifee to provide first responder services, adequate park maintenance, road maintenance. And so the property taxes don't pan out. There is no commercial aspect to this, and I would like to respect our residents who constantly share the sentiment that Menifee has a robust portfolio already. We have enough residential, we have enough growth, and so our Menifee residents want to focus on the robust portfolio and infrastructure needs we have here. So I would not support the annexation, and all in all, I don't support the policy to annex. Those are my comments. Council, do we have any more comments? It sounds like we have direction.
I think we all chose option 3.
City Attorney Melching, I see you in the queue.
Mayor, if I could make a suggestion, there's a lot of history on this item, and it would actually be helpful in this instance to have a motion from the council. A suggestion would be to just table this item indefinitely at this time.
I'll move that we take this item off calendar.
Second. That passes 5-0. Next, we are on agenda item 13, City Attorney reports. Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything to report?
I've said so much tonight. I'm good.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Mr. City Manager Villa, do you have anything to report?
Yes, I want to sound like him. No, I have some very, very good news. Thank you so much. How many of you think that Menifee Matters is a really good magazine? Yes, so the state. So we just awarded the highest award in communications and publications by the state by winning the Capio Epic Award. And this is a picture of our team, communications team, accepting the award for Menifee Matters. I think you all know that we have spent a tremendous amount of investment in making sure that our public is aware, becomes aware, and we're transparent about our programming, and also we're very informative. So our magazine has won the highest award at the state, and it's all because of this team that we have. We've also won the award for videography for our Baker to Vegas video, and that is our police department running in a competition, so we did a video on that. So thanks to our communication and videography team, they put in a lot of work into making sure that we put first-class material out there for the public. So just wanted to make that mention. We're probably going to be doing a press release later on because this is a really good thing to show off.
Thank you, City Manager Villa.
Yeah.
We're very proud of the hard work you and the executive staff, and I seen the photo of Phil, Brianna, and Patrick with their big smiles, and we're very proud of them, and thank you for all the hard work all the team is doing behind the scenes.
Thank you. And just one last thing, I just want to acknowledge that recently we sent a notification of a recent promotion for the Community Services Director. We have Mariana Mitchell. I think she's way in the back somewhere, unless she's gone home. She's here. And Mariana was formerly our Community Services Manager in charge of managing most of our recreational programming. Now she's going to be tasked with managing the entire department, which means there she is. Yeah, she's kind of shy. And we're going to ask her to come over here and say a few words. But, you know, our community services department, they have a tall order. They always knock it out of the park with our programming, our events, and also we have award-winning parks too. So Mariana, I don't know if you want to come up and share a few words with the council.
Hey, good evening, Mrs. Mitchell. Congratulations.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'll keep it brief, but I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity to continue serving the Menifee community with our Community Services Department and our tremendous team of our parks, recreation, and administration. And we look forward to so many more opportunities to continue serving. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity and look forward to yeah, lots more fun. Lots more fun, lots more parks, lots more amenities, and just continue serving. So thank you.
Thank you, Mariana. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager Villa. Next, we're on agenda item 15, future agenda requests from council members. I see Mayor Pro Tem Carwin in the queue.
Thank you. We had a robust discussion on our public safety tonight, and based on the comments and our situations, I'm going to echo the words of Chief Weiser when he said he sees that there are other pathways forward for the city of Menifee. So based on that, I would like to propose a future agenda item for a report on the fiscal impact and feasibility of starting our own fire department.
Second.
Thank you. Any other future agenda requests? Okay, seeing none, I will adjourn this meeting at 8:56. Good night, Menifee.